Customs Memorandum Order Number 22-2010 or the Revised Customs Port Operations Manual, Miscellaneous Provisions. Section 20, Certificate for Quarantine Cargo. When cargo manifested for any port in the Philippines is retained on board the importing vessel by order of the quarantine officer or any other officer authorized to issue such order, the customs inspector on board, after verifying said cargo, shall make a certificate of constructive lading as to the bill of lading. Section 21, Use of Boarding Watercraft. The Customs Senior Boarding Officer shall not permit anyone to go with a Customs boarding watercraft upon departure from the pier except Customs inspectors and Customs guards duly assigned to vessels to be boarded. Customs inspectors and Customs guards assigned by the Chief to substitute for absent personnel and those specially granted in writing by the Chief, Piers, and Inspection Division may be given the privilege to use the boarding watercraft. Section 22, Baggage Declaration Entry. Baggage declaration properly accomplished by incoming passengers shall be presented to the customs inspector on board or to customs examiner upon boarding of the vessel. It is required that an itemized enumeration thereon of the articles obtained abroad showing quantity and the corresponding invoice price should be made in baggage declarations. Section 23, Vessel Clearing for Foreign Ports Applying for Bunkers. The customs inspector on board of a vessel clearing for foreign ports and applying for bunkers shall require the master to transmit together with his application the usual affidavit containing the following: name and nationality of vessel, amount of fuel oil available on board for its propulsion at time of entry, vessel's daily consumption of oil at sea, vessel's daily consumption of oil in port or ports of call during the voyage and duration of vessel stay at each port, and the amount of bunkers applied for. Section 24, Unloading of Cargo by Distressed Vessel. A distressed vessel in port desiring to unload cargo for the duration of her sojourn thereat may be issued a permit to discharge her cargo. If the cargo's discharge will be cleared or entered in the port where they are discharged, the unloading of this class of cargo shall be subject to the same rules and regulations prescribed for other ships entering or departing the port. Unless authorized by a shipside discharge permit, such cargoes shall be discharged into the pier. If discharged into lighters, such lighters must be of the closed type and must be secured, locked, and sealed, and must remain under guard until final disposition is made. Section 25, Ship's Mail. Ship's mail shall be examined as they are being taken from the ship, and all mails addressed to persons other than the agents of the vessel shall be delivered to the mail clerk. Any dutiable articles or merchandise other than mail found in the mail bags shall be subject to duties and taxes or seizure. Section 26, Laborers and Ship's Laundry. All stevedores, laborers, and other persons of similar status shall be thoroughly searched by or under the immediate supervision of the customs inspector on board upon their leaving the vessel. Any such person found with pilfered articles or those not authorized for discharge in his person shall be arrested. A list is to be prepared by the inspector of ships for bundles of clothing, ship's linen, or laundry, which are to be taken ashore for laundering. The inspector will check them against such list upon their return on board so that corresponding duties or taxes may be assessed and collected. Section 27, Seizures. A receipt describing the item seized and a copy of the seizure report and transfer note are to be forwarded to the Chief, Piers, and Inspection Division by the Customs Inspector or Customs Guard making the seizure. If unclaimed, they will be returned to the master of the vessel. Section 28, Arrests. Customs officers are authorized and required to search, arrest, and detain, conformably with law, any person found committing acts contrary to law. A report in detail, showing the name of the person arrested, the reason for the arrest, and action taken, shall be submitted without delay to the Chief, Piers, and Inspection Division. Section 29, Small Boats Alongside Vessels. Small boats authorized by the PPA to engage in ferry services may be permitted to come alongside the vessel. A customs guard shall be stationed at all times while a small boat, launch, or any water draft is alongside, and it shall be thoroughly searched before being permitted to depart. Section 30, Customs Guards for Vessels Lying Alongside. A customs guard shall be detailed by the customs inspector on board of a vessel when another vessel is lying alongside, whose duty shall be to see that no contraband articles or merchandise is passed from one vessel to the other. This duty shall be arranged in rotation so that the vessel will be under continuous surveillance until its departure. Section 31, heaving anchor and sail. If a ship does not leave port 48 hours after the time of departure indicated in the clearance, the Master of Agents shall be required to secure from the Customs Clearance Officer an extension of time for departure, without which the original clearance shall be of no force or effect. Upon receipt of a notice of clearance, the Customs Inspector on board shall allow the vessel to heave anchor and sail. Section 32, repair of vessel equipment. Upon the filing of a bond or underguard guaranteeing the re-exportation and approved by the Collector of Customs, the landing of sails, casks, and other parts of the vessel's equipment for the purpose of having them repaired shall be permitted. The Customs Inspector shall describe the articles or equipment so released in sufficient detail to enable easy and ready identification upon their return. Section 33, conversion of vessel status. A. From foreign to coastwise. Vessels of foreign status may be converted to coastwise status after the following requirements are fully complied with and submitted to the Collector of Customs through the Customs Clearance Officer as prerequisite to the issuance of clearance. First is the certification from the concerned office of the Bureau that import entry had been filed and duties and taxes had been paid and/or secured to be paid. Second, the certification of conversion issued by the Maritime Industry Authority. Third is the certification from the Chief, Piers and Inspection Division and Chief, Bay Service Section, with the Enforcement and Security Service or the ESS as member of the searching team, that the vessel has been fully searched for contraband cargoes, indicating therein the results of the searching mission. Fourth, the certification from the shipping agency attested by the customs inspector on board that all foreign cargoes are fully discharged from vessel. Lastly, fifth, the inventory list of ship stores and saloons and crew declaration list shall be duly accomplished, signed by the master of the vessel and attested with the customs inspector on board. Such vessel shall be subject to continuous underguarding until final clearance is issued by the Office of the Deputy Collector for operations. B. From coastwise to foreign. Vessels of coastwise status may be converted to a foreign status subject to the following requirements. First, certification of conversion issued by the Maritime Industry Authority. Second, duly processed export declarations or permits. Section 34, letters to collector. The Customs Senior Boarding Officer shall collect all letters in the vessel's possession addressed to the Collector of Customs and transmit them without delay to the Customs House. Section 35, refuse and garbage. No refuse, garbage, and the like shall be thrown or jettisoned inside any harbor, more especially while the ship is alongside piers. All damaged and rotten cargoes shall be disposed of upon arrangement and permission of the Collector of Customs and at the area designated by a duly authorized representative. Master of vessels desiring to load or discharge ballast shall first obtain permission from the Collector of Customs or surveyor of the port and shall obey the instruction given by them by the harbor master as to where the ballasts shall be taken from or discharged as the case may be. Section 36, firearms, care and use. The unnecessary display of firearms is prohibited. An employee should remember that the law will hold him personally responsible for the results of the use of firearms by him. While it is not intended that an officer or employee should jeopardize his own life or the life of an associate when danger threatens, it is intended that extreme caution and deliberation controls his actions. Officers and employees shall not be permitted to carry firearms while on duty until they have been thoroughly instructed in the proper care and use of such weapons. All firearms will be inspected by the Chief, Piers, and Inspection Division periodically to see that they are kept in condition for proper use. All sidearms must be holstered and properly carried on official duty. Section 37, instructions relative to discharging, withdrawal, and loading of empty container. First, for the discharging of empty containers, the shipping agent prior to the discharge of empty container shall furnish the Customs Container Control Division a copy of the approved sequence of discharge and a separate listing of empty containers to be discharged from the carrying vessel for monitoring and aging purposes. Second is the withdrawal of empty containers. The shipping agent concerned shall present a letter request to the Chief, Customs Container Control Division for withdrawal of empty container from the pier. Once approved, the Deputy Collector for Operations, the Chief, Enforcement Security Service, and the Chief, Piers and Inspection Division shall be furnished copies of the request and the permit to withdraw issued. The original copy of the approved request with the withdrawal permit shall be forwarded to the wharfinger in charge for the issuance of the gate pass. Customs gatekeepers and customs ESS personnel shall be required to open all empty containers at the exit gates to verify whether they are indeed empty and report any discrepancies. Third, loading of empty containers. Prior to the loading of empty containers on board carrying vessel, the shipping agent concerned shall apply for a special permit to load in a letter application made for that purpose at the Customs Container Control Division. The Chief Customs Container Control Division shall coordinate with the concerned shipping agent and the arrest tray operator for the segregation of these empty containers and for their inspection while in the port. It shall be the responsibility of the Customs Container Control Division to physically inspect every empty container that is brought into and unloaded onto the port. In approving the authority to load empty containers, the Chief from Customs Container Control Division shall ensure that the empty containers specified therein have already been duly inspected. This is so provided that the appropriate office has conducted the required inspection and that the containers covered by such authority are verified to be empty indeed. No further inspection of empty containers for which an authority to load has already been approved shall be required during loading of the same. Loading inspector concerned shall furnish the customs inspector on board the carrying vessel with a copy of the SPL. He shall also endorse the list of containers loaded on board the vessel by reporting it in his ICL to be submitted to the Export Division. Section 38. Instructions relative to the withdrawal of shut-out containerized export. 1. Withdrawal of shut-out containerized export cargoes. All applications for the withdrawal of shut-out containerized export cargoes shall be directly filed with the Chief, CCCD. Spot checking of the contents of the subject container shall no longer be required, but instead the following precautionary measures shall be undertaken. A. The application to withdraw shut-out containerized export cargo shall be accompanied at all times by the following. First is the certification of the shipping agent concerned attesting to such facts. Second is an equipment interchange receipt or the EIR. And third, a copy of export declaration permit inquiry. B. The spot checking shall be confined only to determine whether the original shipping agent seal affixed after the stuffing operations is intact. C. In case the containerized export cargoes are deliveries from a CBW, which fact shall be indicated in the application. The same shall not be withdrawn unless accompanied by a customs guard who shall guard the same until the shipment is received by the assigned customs warehouse man or customs storekeeper at the CBW. For this purpose, the Chief from Customs Container Control Division shall coordinate with the Chief from the Bonded Warehouse Operating Division concerned for the underguarding requirements. Section 39. Shifting of cargoes. The shipping agent shall submit a written request for shifting of cargoes to the Office of the Chief, Beers and Inspection Division, which in turn shall recommend its approval to the Deputy Collector for operations. Section 40. Devanning, stripping, and stuffing. Consignee shall submit a written request for devanning, stripping, and stuffing to the Office of the Chief, Beers and Inspection Division, which in turn shall recommend its approval to the Deputy Collector for operations. Section 41. Direct-to-truck transfer. For direct transfer of container or cargo from vessel to truck, consignee or customs broker shall submit a written request to the Office of the Chief, Beers and Inspection Division, which in turn shall recommend its approval to the Deputy Collector for operations. Section 42. Overtime permit. All requests for overtime work by Beers and Inspection Division personnel other than those regular activities mentioned in this manual shall be recommended by the Chief, Beers and Inspection Division and approved by the Deputy Collector for operations. Section 43. Discharging of vessel sludge. All requests for discharging of vessel sludge shall be recommended by the Chief, Beers and Inspection Division and approved by the Deputy Collector for operations. Sample of sludge shall be taken by the Customs Examiner from Formal Entry Division for examination purposes. Section 44. Bunkering permit. All requests for vessel bunkering or refueling shall be recommended for approval by the Chief to the Chief Port Operations Service. Section 45. Leisure or the racing yacht. The boarding formalities shall as far as practicable apply to leisure crafts, yachts, foreign fishing vessels, and local fishing vessels from abroad. This provision shall include all vessels arriving in the country that are participants of regattas or similar competitions. During boarding formalities, the master or owner of the yacht or other similar vessel shall manifest or state its intention or purpose of its journey in the Philippines. He must indicate if its voyage is for pleasure, or indicate if it is intended period of its intended period of stay in the Philippines, conversion from foreign to coastwise, payment of duties and taxes, or conduct of business in the Philippines. Now for the Customs Memorandum Order Number 22-2010, Harbor Regulations related to customs. A. When a vessel entering a port, all vessels entering any port of entry or coastwise in the Philippines shall show their colors and signal their official numbers or letters, and such signals shall be kept flying till the vessel is boarded by the proper officials. All vessels within 2 miles before arriving at the designated quarantine anchorage shall display their aforementioned signals. 2. When mail is to be discharged, the vessel shall inform the port authorities by the prescribed signal at the earliest opportunity. B. Flag signals or calls. 1. At the Philippine ports of entry, signals will be responded to and from the customs house or pilot signal tower. 2. The following signals or calls shall be used in all Philippine ports of entry. A. Customs. The International Code Flags ENC. At night, 3 or 4 short blasts of whistle and waving of light. B. Quarantine. International Code Flag Q at the fore. C. Pilot. International Code Flag G or PT at night. We have 1. The pyrotechnic light, commonly known as a blue light, every 15 minutes. A bright white light flashed or shown at short frequent intervals just above the hull for about a minute at a time, or the International Code signal PT by flashing light. D. Explosives or inflammables, International Code Flag B at the fore. E. Medical assistance, International Code Flag or customs call. F. Contagious or infectious disease, International Code Flags EZQ. G. The death, customs and quarantine calls or International Code Flags ENL. H. Distress by day. By day, we have the International Code Flags ANSI or gun or other explosive signals fired at intervals of about a minute, or the distress signal consisting of a square flag having either above or below it a ball or anything resembling a ball at night. At night, if a vessel is in distress, we have a gun or other explosive signal fired at intervals or about a minute. Second is the flames on the vessel, as from a burning tar barrel, oil barrel, etc., or the rockets or shells, throwing stars of any color or description fired one at a time at short intervals. I. Mail, we have the International Code Flag Y. J. Waterboat, International Code Flags RC or FU. PID, ESS, we have the customs call. And then L. Harbor Master, the International Code Flags GYT. And M. Maneuvering, International Code Flag D at night. C. Quarantine requirements. Deaths, illness, or accidents involving physical to any person on board a vessel in a harbor shall be at once reported to the Collector of Customs and the quarantine officer. D. Repair or dry docking of vessels. No repairs except minor ones shall be allowed on carry vessel in a port without the permission of the Collector of Customs or the Deputy Collector for operations, as well as its transfer to designated place of dry docking, and shall be subject to continuous underguarding until final clearance. For dry docking, the following documents are required. A. Searching and inventory report. B. Approval from the Office of the Deputy Collector for Operations. C. Certification from contractor or the scope of work and duration of repair. E. Sunken vessel. Whenever the navigation of any harbor or navigable river tributary is obstructed by a sunken vessel, boat, watercraft, or other similar obstruction, the Collector of Customs may cause its removal immediately and before the expiration of 30 days at the expense of the owner, provided, however, that if navigation of a waterway is prevented or seriously endangered by any obstruction, the Collector of Customs may remove the obstruction within 30 days. F. Lighters or tugs and other watercraft. Lighters shall not be tied nor removed from alongside a vessel without permission of the customs inspector on board such vessel. G. Police authority performed by customs officers. 1. Customs officers have the power to arrest within harbor limits persons violating the customs, immigration, and navigation laws and regulations and persons committing crimes or breaches of the peace. Such arrests shall be reported without delay to their superior officer. 2. Any person who assaults, resists, opposes, or interferes in any manner with the customs officer in the discharge of his duty shall be liable and subject to the penalties prescribed by law. H. Rat guards. 1. When any vessel, either of foreign or Philippines registry, is at any dock, pier, wharf, quay, or bulkhead, such vessel shall take proper precautions to prevent the passage of rodents to or from the vessel. Rat guards, as prescribed, shall be fixed on all connecting lines, and in addition, all cargo nets, chutes, and similar devices extending between the vessel and shore structure. The vessel shall be fended off from the pier, wharf, quay, bulkhead, or dock not less than 6 feet. 2. Rat guards must be placed on all lines between idle lighters or small boats or other carriers and the vessel, which must be so fastened that the guard will remain at right angles to and tight on the line. The master of any vessel of foreign registry of Philippine registry engaged in foreign trade shall have suitable rat guards placed. 3. No cargo shall be discharged from or received on board a vessel lying alongside a pier, wharf, quay, dock, or bulkhead in the stream before suitable rat guards have been placed on all the lines loading from the carriers to the vessel and from the vessel to the pier. This includes coastwise vessels handling cargo to or from barges, lighters, or other carriers. I. Other special anchorages. Likewise, all other boats and watercrafts are prohibited to anchor or lingering around any vessel, whether moored at a pier or anchored in the harbor, at a distance of less than 50 meters from said vessel unless specially authorized by the Collector of Customs. J. Specific regulation. 1. No empty lighters or carriers shall lie at night alongside a Philippine government pier or alongside a vessel moored thereto, nor shall empty lighters or carriers be attached to such pier or vessel by cables or ropes or attached to loaded or partly loaded carriers which may be alongside or fastened to such pier or vessel. 2. Empty lighters or carriers alongside or attached to such pier or vessel during daytime shall be removed therefrom before nightfall. 3. The provisions contained in paragraph 1 and 2 above shall not apply to carriers partially laden with import or export cargo, or to empty carriers which may have been or which may have been prepared or which are preparing to receive cargo from a pier or vessel when delivery from a pier or discharge of a vessel during nighttime has been duly authorized. Lastly, 4. Any vessel or other watercraft in the Philippine harbor shall, when a case of sickness occurs on board, immediately hoist the regulation quarantine flag, which is yellow, and keep the same flying until boarded and passed upon by an inspector of the Quarantine Bureau. The flag shall be of sufficient size and so placed as to be plainly visible.